All right, well, let's get the title screen rolled out of the way and get started in today's video. This is the second video on our marketing education series. Hi, I'm Deb Horn, VP of Marketing here with We Buy Houses, and it's a pleasure to come to you today and talk about these topics. I love marketing, and really finding motivated sellers is the key challenge that we all have, and it's a marketing challenge. So I love these topics, love talking to you guys about them. And today's topic is an interesting one because I've had a number of conversations with people, and maybe I thought this was easy, but then when I talked to people, I found out they were getting hung up on some things. So the question is, how much, or basically, how do I create a campaign to fit within my budget? And so I want to show you a couple of different ways that we can skin that cat, if you will, today. That's a terrible reference, isn't it? But let's say we have $1,000 in our marketing budget, okay? And let's also say that we've committed to that for the next 6 months, okay? If you saw the prior video, you know how important it is to be committed to, a campaign of multiple touches, right? So for our example here, we've got $1,000 for the next 6 months. And so we want to do some direct mail. So let's back our way into the numbers of how many pieces we're going to send and what we're going to do with this $1,000. There's actually two different ways to approach this. One way is to treat, there's some, let me just cut to the chase. In month one of direct mail, you have to buy a mailing list. And that's the thing I think that trips people up, because they understand that, okay, every month it's going to cost me this much to mail, but first I have to acquire the list. That's a different cost that month. And so really, if you look at it in month one, your costs are a little bit different because you need to acquire your mailing list, and then obviously you need to send whatever you're going to send. And in our example here, we're going to assume that we're sending postcards. And postcards break down. There's like the printing of it, there's the mailing of it. So there's some various costs are involved here that come together to make up the cost of this of marketing to a person. And so let's kind of break it down. Now, you may know or feel that you can beat these benchmark prices that I'm going to stick on here. If you can, that's great. Put your prices in here. You get the point. I'm basically going to say a mailing list costs 10 cents per record, and that it costs me 50 cents per postcard to mail postcards. Those are pretty close numbers. I mean, basically mailing lists, 8 cents all the way up to like 18 cents, depending on who you get it from. Postcards, by the time you do the printing, the mailing, the processing, for a big postcards like we use, 8.5 by 5.5, full color, both sides, glossy postcards, really nice. They're about 50 cents. Some people mail cheap cards for 35 cents, and we just don't play at that level. We basically want to have this nicer product. These things that when you see them in the mailbox, they're really vivid and they pop and they make that brand statement right at that moment. Whether the person tosses them or not, they get it. That's the power of the We Buy Houses postcards. So for example, those are the costs I'm going to use. 10 cents for the mailing list, 50 cents for the postcard. So how do we back into how much we're going to mail? Well, so what I would say is, we've got let me stick that in my back pocket. We've got a loaded cost of 60 cents per address in that first month, 10 of that being the mailing. In months 2 through 6, we've just got the mailing, right? 50 cents. So like I said, there's two ways to look at this. One way is to basically, ignore this additional expense at first and just look at months 2 through 6. If I had $1,000 divided by 50 cents, that's 2,000 pieces that I could send out, right? And so what I'm saying here is when I jump back up here to month one, I'm going to spend a little bit more than 1,000 because I need to buy the list. But now we know we're going to do 2,000 pieces. So 2,000 pieces times 60 cents is equal to $1,200, okay? So in month 1, we have the expense of our mailing list, which is $200. In months 2 through 6, it's just, $1,000 a month for the mailing. So you see how that worked? See how I did the math? Now, there's one other way we may look at this. Let's say I don't have the flexibility of spending more money in that first month. Let's say I just have $1,000 max that I can spend. There would be a different way I would approach it then. I would take the $1,000. I would divide it by the 60 cents in the first month, and you're going to get 1,667. So that's how many pieces I can do in the first month. So I would go and get my mailing list of 1,667 records about that. Then I would be hitting my budget in month 1, and then in months 2 through 6, basically I've got the 1,667 pieces times 50 cents, and that comes out to $833. Okay? So 2 different ways to look at it. If I cannot exceed $1,000, then I'm just going to divide my full month 1 expense into the $1,000. That'll tell me how many pieces I can do. I'll go buy a mailing list of that, and I'll do that in month 1, and subsequently I'll be sending that number of pieces times 50 cents, and it'll cost me $833 a month. Less than $1,000, right? So you see, that's why I kind of like the first example where I bought the list, incrementally in that month 1, and then subsequently had my $1,000 to spend in the months 2 through 6. Does that make sense? It's just math, right? So if we were doing something else, direct, it doesn't have to be direct mail. It could be any, door hangers or whatever. You basically just need to understand the cost per item, per address of whatever it is that you're trying to do. And, if you need to buy a mailing list, use 10 cents as a ballpark figure for that, 50 cents for a postcard, $1 for a letter. Use those ballparks and it will help you create a campaign to fit your budget. Hey, you guys, I hope this was helpful today. If you haven't joined We Buy Houses, well, there's the link right there. It's webuyhouses.com/register. And if you missed our first video, which was very good, I might add, the Rule of 7, hey, there's a link right above my head. Click on that and you can go watch the first video in our series. It's been a real pleasure to spend time with you today. I hope you will join us in the subsequent videos that are coming in this series. We got a lot of great stuff planned. And in the meantime, it's been a pleasure to be with you today, and I wish you the best and happy investing. Take care.